Hey, Brennan here. Welcome to the channel, and thanks for tuning in. All right, we got a different kind of show for you today on the channel. I'm going to be joined by Jason DiRienzo, my podcast co-host. We are going to draft our top 20 running backs. After we draft our running backs, we are going to assign them our favorite landing spots, all right? So we got the draft about 2 weeks away. We decided to do something a little different. Instead of doing a rookie mock, we're kind of tired of them. We've done 4 or 5 of them on the channel. We are going to do a running back only draft with our favorite landing spots. And then at the end of the show, I want to hear from you in the comments section who drafted the better crop of running backs, who drafted the top 10 running backs. All right, we're gonna do a show like this for wide receivers and tight ends in the next few days, so hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna explain everything about the show. Let's get to it. All right, so Jason, let's get and try this new format that we're going to try here. Okay, like I said, just
Let's
to
do
give
it.
a summarization of what we're going to do. We're going to draft all the running backs. We're just going to have a complete running back draft. That is it. We're going to draft the top 20 running backs, or I guess our consensus top 20 running backs. And then we're going to go, pick by pick. And then not only are we going to pick a player, we're going to pick our favorite landing spots as though we're kind of general managers. All right. So the idea again is we're going to draft these players, and at the end, we're going to put our teams up for discussion as to, from the viewers on YouTube. And of course, we'll put it out on the Slack chat and everything. We'll get some more comments as well, who drafted the better team. So it's kind of fun because we got landing spots happening in 2.5, 3 weeks, right? And we all want our
Yeah.
favorite running backs playing Devi and C2C. We got them on our taxi squads already. We're ready to go. We're ready to see where the landing spots are and how they fit. So we're going to give you a little history as well as we go along. I love giving history lessons. I think it's always important to kind of look what's happened in the past to give us a little bit more of a clearer picture of what happens, in the future. So, I think the last 3 or 4, Jason, mock drafts we've done, I've been the kind soul to give you the first pick, and I'm going to be a little stingy
You have
tonight. All
been.
right. I want it. I want the
You're allowed to
first
be
goddamn
selfish every
pick.
now and
Okay.
then.
I think
Yeah,
I
I get it.
deserve to be. All right. So I'm gonna take Genti. Okay. And here we go. We're gonna go round one. It sounds like he's got a visit with the Raiders. They locked in Geno Smith. You got Tom Brady down there. Geno Smith is locked in, I
Mhm.
think, for a 2 or 3 year deal. They were dead last year, the Raiders, in rushing with 1,357 yards, 3.6 average, which is quite bad. And I think Tom Brady is going to want to make a splash with an exciting running back to just pair
Yeah.
with Geno Smith. They'll worry about wide receivers later. But right now, I think that would ignite the fan base. So I'm going to take Genti here with the first pick, and we're going to draft these players kind of in the order. Like I'm taking my guys throughout this whole thing, man. I'm basically where I think they're going to go in the draft. But I'm taking Genti going to the Raiders here with this. They have the 6th pick in the first round.
And obviously, I'm not going to argue that pick. And you already start off with probably the best running back prospect we've had in quite a while. So that is a good pick for you. I am going to actually stay in the first round here. And I'm looking at the Denver Broncos, and they just had Javonte Williams head over to the Dallas Cowboys. I know they drafted Audric Estime, who I do like. But if you see a Marion Hampton on the board at pick 20, with what his skill set is, the explosiveness, the power, the versatility as a pass catcher. I don't think they can pass up here. I think they know they got to get a guy that can change the entire offense, help Bo Nix out in pass protection. I'm going to go with a Marion Hampton, pick 20 to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think Sean loves running the ball. I didn't
Oh yeah.
give didn't give a history lesson. Last year in 2024, 0 running backs taken in round 1, 2 back in 2023. On average, from 2018 to 2024, only on average 1.3 running backs are taken in the first round of the draft, right? So I think we're going to close out round 1. Hampton is just now getting that draft, that round 1 draft capital buzz. He's probably going to sneak in there now, which leads me to me. We're going to go to round 2 now, and I'm looking at my board and who really needs a running back. You just mentioned Williams headed over to Dallas, but I think that is a stopgap option. I think they signed him to a 1-year deal. I'm going to take Trevion
Yeah, I can see it.
Henderson. He's my RB2. He's been my RB2 for a while. Yeah, there's durability concerns. Has he really ever had a 3-down role? But the teams today, they're going to be sharing committees and backfields. But I think he's the most explosive running back, great pass catcher out of the backfield, really good pass
Mhm.
protector too, coming from a good
Yeah.
or conference and team and organization in Ohio State. So I'm going him going to Dallas with the 44th pick. I think Dallas, they need some excitement, kind of what we just talked about the Raiders. They
Mhm.
just, I mean, they've been meandering with this running back situation for way too long. They need to get their next bell cow. So I'm going to take Trevion Henderson going to the Dallas Cow. I'm going to give him a Dallas Cowboys landing spot with the 44th pick.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal pick. He's my RB2 as well. And I am going to look at the second round and I'm identifying one major spot. Now, yes, maybe the Chargers did sign Najee Harris, but what Harbaugh knows is that he does well with a good explosive running back. And what he had with J.K. Dobbins resurrecting his career last year, Dobbins is now a free agent. I think he's going to go right back to the Ohio State well and grab Quinshawn Judkins here at pick 55. And I know Terrace is signed, but I just don't think he's the right fit. It is actually interesting that Harbaugh has this guy in Hassan Haskins back there. A lot of us like Kamani Vidal, but knowing what the versatility is with Quinshawn Judkins, he's explosive. The athleticism score wasn't too different from Travion Henderson either, and he's a much bigger back in the 220s. I think Harbaugh's going to be so happy to have a guy like Quinshawn Judkins in the backfield, and so will we in fantasy football. So the Chargers select Quinshawn Judkins in the second round.
Did they sign Harris to a long-term deal or is he on like a 1 year deal?
I don't know with the long term if it is long term or not, but at the
Okay.
same time, I'm thinking this is a much better fit than what Harris is.
Yeah, well, no doubt. They always like those young running backs. So I forgot to give my history lesson as we enter round two. Round two, over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, only on average 2.3 running backs have been taken in round two. The last 2 years specifically, there's only been one taken in each round. So it's a deep class. And I think the most of the running backs are going to start getting plucked off the board in rounds 3 and 4. So let's move to round three, because I think that's going to round out round two. I think there's depth in this class. And I think that some teams may hold off thinking that they can get someone a little later. Round three, on average, over the last 8 years, 3.1 running backs were taken. And in our draft here, it looks like we have got 5. I am on the clock right now, and I'm looking at my NFL draft big boards, running back big board right now, and I am not going to pivot off it. I'm taking my next ranked running back, and that is Damian Martinez. In the third round, the Kansas City Chiefs have pick number 66 from the Tennessee Titans. So here they sit at the very top. They just had the second to last pick in rounds in pick 63 in round two. In round three here, they go, really back to almost back-to-back picks. And I'm going to have him taking Damian Martinez, man. You know me, I've been a Damian Martinez fan for a long time. I think he's been an underrated back throughout this whole scouting process. But with the 66th pick going there, and I think Pacheco is a fading asset in Dynasty. I know they got Hunt there too, who's played well, but they've been striking out and missing on a full-time running back for quite some time. Damian Martinez, he might get higher draft capital than people expect. That is what I'm hoping anyway, because he
Mhm.
is my RB5 right now in my ranks. So Damian Martinez going to Kansas City. You got to love the landing spots. I know that landing spot has hurt us many, many times in the last 2 or 3 years. It hasn't panned out. Clyde's Edward Hilaire, you remember the painful people taking
Oh
him
yeah,
early. So
back into the first.
yeah, back into the first. So third round, they get their running back of the future, a bruiser who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And don't talk to me about his bad pass, protection.
Bad
So
pass protection.
don't even bring that up. So he's not that bad.
Got
But
it.
Damian Martinez going to Kansas City Chiefs. That's my pick.
I love Damian Martinez, and I think that is a nice fit. And so here's what we probably a good opportunity for us to bring this up. Each of us does have one challenge. We had one challenge to, override somebody's pick. So I thought about challenging you on this one, but you know what? I do think Damian Martinez is definitely worth a top 75 pick, and that's a nice spot. So we'll let that one ride. We'll let that
Mhm.
one ride. I'm gonna go And I'm looking at the San Francisco 49ers. I know they got Christian McCaffrey, who is dealing with injury all last year. He's a phenomenal running back, one of the best in the NFL, but obviously his age and he is deteriorating. I know they have Isaac Guerrero, but I don't know if he's a sustainable asset for them. I'm looking at that outside zone type of run scheme, and Caleb Johnson ran phenomenally in that same type of scheme at Iowa. I think this is going to be a great fit for him with Kyle Shanahan. And at pick 75, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Caleb Johnson to back up Christian McCaffrey.
All right. If I had to predict any comments that we're going to get, it's going to be like, how can you take Caleb Johnson behind Damian Martinez? I can see the comments already, but I'm going to
Of
follow
course.
my board, and Johnson is not far behind Martinez
Look, we
for
got to
me.
have some juicy stuff in
Yeah,
here.
we
This
got, of
chalk is
course we
not
do.
even going to be helpful, you know?
I would agree. I'm just going by my clear scouting of what I've watched the film on these
Right.
players. So I actually like Martinez better than Johnson as a runner. So it's my pick here. And I'm looking at the board here in the third round and who really needs a running back. And you know who needs a complete reset at pick number 77 in the third round? That's the New England Patriots. Now, I know they signed Ramondre Stevenson to a long-term deal, but he can't seem to hang on to the football. And Antonio Gibson is a jag, in my opinion. And they're going to take Dylan Sampson with the 77th pick. Then it's a perfect complement running back kind of to Stevenson, right? We have the
Mm.
Stevenson who can run in between the tackles. Hopefully, he holds on to the ball this year. He can work between the tackles. And then you got Sampson who can relieve him as well as provide some explosiveness in the passing game. I think it would take more pressure off Drake May. So I love this pick here. Dylan Sampson to the New England Patriots with the 77th pick. So all our like top, landing spots are starting to dry up here. So
They
it's going to
are.
start getting a little
Yeah.
fun right now.
Well, here's where the fun really honestly begins because the Steelers need a running back. And
Mhm.
nothing against Jalen Warren, but I don't think he is your primary type of guy to fill a full workload. They have Kenneth Gainwell back there and Cordell Patterson. And my God, did they need a running back? And I'm thinking running back. I'm thinking, who looks more like a
Yeah.
Steelers running back than Cam freaking Scatabo? That pounding, powerful running back with outstanding elite contact balance, pass catching ability, had the most receptions, I think, out of the running back group in college football last year, and just, put the whole freaking team on his back. That's what the Steelers need, a guy with that kind of competitive nature. So I have at pick 83, the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting Cam Scatterbo to be their next running back of the future.
I'll tell you what, dude. I could see Scatterboo in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform.
Oh, God, yes.
You know,
God,
and
yes.
I
Yeah.
actually considered Samson going to the Steelers, and it just didn't fit, right? Because Samson's a smaller
It's
back,
just
and
right, right.
so it's a
Yeah.
perfect fit. So we got one more back we're going to take here that we think I think he gets day three or round three draft capital, and that is Trevor Etienne. You and I are both
Mm.
probably higher on
Love
Trevor
him.
Etienne than
Yeah.
most, and I am going to give him a landing spot of the perfect. There's one I may have misspoke to say that all the juicy landing spots are taken because the
Well, they're
Baltimore
starting to go. They're
they're
starting to go.
starting to go. Baltimore
Right.
Ravens with number 90, the 91st pick in the draft, about late to mid late in the third round. I think they take their running back of the future. I know they got Derrick Henry. I know they got Justice Hill. Derrick Henry, I think, has one more year. Perfect time for Trevor Etienne to come in and establish himself as the RB2, learn behind King Henry for a year. I love this fit. I would love to see
Yeah.
Trevor Etienne get round three draft capital as well. But to the Baltimore Ravens, come on, man, sign me up.
Oh, I love it. He's so underrated. He put the Georgia team on his back in the postseason. That's the type of pick the Baltimore Ravens should be making. I like that pick a lot. I'll tell you what, where are we at? We are going into
The
the
fourth
fourth round
round,
now.
right?
Fourth round. So, guys,
Yeah,
that's the breaking point. You know what I mean?
that's it. This is where it
Those
starts to
are your
get
day
iffy.
two.
Yeah,
Yes, this is where it gets iffy.
this is where
But
it
to
gets
start
stupid.
early on in round four, I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns who have Jerome Ford. I don't even know who's behind Jerome Ford. They obviously need a starting running back. Nick Chubb is a free agent, but he was on the older side dealing with injuries. So obviously that was probably not going to work for them anyway. And I know they just need someone who's reliable at every single level as a versatile player with size, and just solid all around. And that screams Devin Neal to me. I think he would be a great fit in this offense. I think the pass catching ability alone would be a dynamic, he'd be a dynamic weapon, for that offense. And he's just solid when it comes to him being a runner. He's more of a finesse runner than a power runner, which is interesting for a guy of his size. But I think that will work really well with the Cleveland Browns offensive scheme that they run. Devin Neal to the Cleveland Browns, and I have him going at pick 104.
There you go. I'm going to take pick 105. The New York Giants are right behind Cleveland at the top of the fourth round. Tyrone Tracy Jr. is there. I think he's a screaming sell in Dynasty right now. I know he flashed year one, but I'd be trying to get what I can for him. Devin Singletary is there as well. And then Eric Gray is kind of a jag who I think is definitely replaceable. And Jordan James is the next guy on my NFL draft big boards running back board right now. And I'm going to have the Giants taking Jordan James. Now, they got the third pick in the draft. It's going to be really interesting to see if they go with Sanders or not for the quarterback position. But I think that they still have not resolved their running back situation ever since, fortunately letting Saquon Barkley come to my Philadelphia Eagles. So they're looking to rebuild their running back room. I'm going to take Jordan James. I think he's a little underrated in this draft as well, going to the Giants. I think he could actually maybe get some opportunity year one.
Yeah, honestly, I think he could too, and he's definitely underrated. I've misevaluated him as I've done my evaluations, and he's much better than I expected. So I think that would be a good spot. I'm looking at the Carolina Panthers at pick 114, and I know that they have Jonathan Brooks, but unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks, man, I feel terrible for what's going on with those injuries to him. So that is a little bit of an unknown, and they need a guy besides for Chuba Hubbard that they can count on. And I'm looking at DJ Giddens. I think he would be a great fit. He's got that lateral fluid movement. I think he's got good burst. He's got that pass catching ability. And he performs really well at the NFL Combine, showing off that breakaway speed. This would be a nice dynamic weapon to have in combination with Chuba Hubbard or whoever else they decide to bring in. I think Giddens would be a nice fit here for the Carolina Panthers.
I like that too. Yeah, it's a very unfortunate about Jonathan Brooks. Your heart goes out to that poor guy. So I'm going down the fourth round list, right, of the draft, and I'm thinking to myself, what team really needs a running back? And I'm looking at the Washington Commanders at the 128, and a player that I just dropped on the YouTube channel, my top running backs, and a guy that rose up my board as I did my final scouting and grades was Jaden Blue. All right. And I'm going to have him going to the Washington Commanders with the pick 128. I'm going to get a little spicy. Like you said, we can't just go chalk and go down, mockdraftdatabase.com where everybody, looks for values. No, I like Blue more than the other running backs. Maybe there's one other back here that I'm going to select here very shortly that I might like a little better. But Washington, I think Blue is the perfect replacement for Austin Eckler. I think Brian Robinson Jr. has one more year on his deal and is on his rookie contract. So I think Jaden Blue could be that great explosive pass catcher out of the backfield, has the wheels to take it to the distance. He could be an explosive, great complement to Robinson. So I've got Washington with the 128th overall pick in round 4, taking Jaden Blue.
That'd be some incredible lightning and thunder with those two in the backfield to help out Jaden Daniels. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. As I'm looking in this round, I'm looking at the New Orleans Saints, and I know Alvin Kamara is there, and I know how much we all love Kendra Miller, who we are waiting to come on. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But I'm looking at that skill set and how they use the pass catcher, in terms of a running back, and I'm looking at RJ Harvey. So at pick 131, the New Orleans Saints are taking UCF running back RJ Harvey. They also grabbed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't think that's even a great fit for that offense. So Alvin Kamara has been dealing with injuries. If at any point Kendre Miller steps in, becomes a starter, they need a pass-catching running back with explosive breakaway speed. That is RJ Harvey. He could probably have a lot of fun in this offense and a lot of fun in PPR formats.
Yeah, I think this is another comment we're probably going to get a lot of comments on. RJ Harvey is ranked for a lot of people in the top 7 or 8, and just not for me. He's outside actually my top 10 So
Yeah.
I'm not as high as on Harvey. That's why I passed on him. So that's going to round out our fourth round. Okay. So we had four players taken in round four. And as I mentioned earlier, well, no, I'm sorry, we had five backs taken in our running back draft here in the fourth round. On average, it's 4.1 over the last 8 years. Round five. Let's turn to round five. On average, we only have three taken. On average, there's only 20 total running backs taken in the last 8 years in the draft, which is kind of crazy. So I think a lot of people think we're going to get a lot more this year, but I'm not so sure. I think they're going to wait for them just to become UDFAs, most likely. So, all right, I'm gonna start off the top of the fifth round here, and I'm looking up on the board and who needs maybe a reset at the running back position. I'm gonna go Jacksonville Jaguars taking Bashal Tootin. Right, no guy, no player increased his draft stock more than Tootin down at the combine. The dude was a blazer down there. And I put a film review out on the YouTube channel breaking down his film, and I think he is a fifth round player. He might be lower
Mhm.
than for me than he is on a lot of other people's boards. Yeah, he is that explosive player, but I think a little concerned about his vision and his decision making, working and navigating. So he's going to be a complementary piece, if at all, if he gets on the backfield. He is not going to be a starter in the NFL. However, you got Travis Etienne, right, who is an
Yep.
unrestricted free agent in 2026. So he's going to be with the team. They have a new coach. Dougie P's out. Tank Bigsby is there also. So he's that bigger bruising back who might take over the lead committee role. But Tootin is going to be in a committee regardless of what team he goes to. And I think it'd be a great fit after ETN moves on. New coaching staff comes in, gets maybe one of their guys to develop just some new talent in the backfield there. So I got Jacksonville taking Tootin here with the 142nd pick.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, he could be a dynamic weapon if they find a way to use him properly. So that could be a lot of fun as well. I'm sure everybody's been waiting. Well, what about the Chicago Bears? And as a Bears fan, I've been waiting too, but it needs to be the right guy. And as I'm looking in this round five, and that seemed to be, the Bears' sweet spot back in the day. New coaching staff will probably change that, but I'm looking at value and I'm looking at what is going to fit Ben Johnson's offense perfectly. And I'm looking at Rashard Smith, the former
Mm.
wide receiver, converted running back who dominated SMU last year, who has that pass catching upside with that versatility, with that receiver background. Ben Johnson can find a way to use this kid in a big way too. I think he could really find a way to get him involved in the pass game and the run game and just be that versatile athlete that Ben Johnson loves to deploy. So give me Brashard Smith, pick 148 to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I like it. I think a lot of people are probably thinking they would take maybe another back, but your guys' defense is pretty tough, right? You need to draft a lot of defense, don't you, early in the
Yeah,
draft
we do.
for your
And that's
Chicago
playing
Bears?
into why they waited a little while too.
That's
Yeah.
kind of why I did
Offensive
it
line
too.
still.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So I got the next pick here in round five, and I'm going again. Those landing spots are drying up just a little bit, but I'm going to go with the 153rd pick, Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, they got Chase Brown, Zach Moss. I think they just signed P Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, to
I'm
on their
not sure,
roster.
but you might be right. Yeah.
But I'm going to take Jarquez Hunter here, okay? Because I think Chase Brown has been that explosive pass catching back out of the backfield. They might need someone to replace Zach Moss, who I believe is a free agent next year as well. So Jarquez Hunter, I don't know if you know this, man. For 4 years at Auburn, the dude has averaged 6.2 yards a carry his entire career. In fact, in 2023, 5.7. And other than that, he's been 6 plus. I mean, the guy is just a bruising, underrated running back. I think he could be another surprise in this draft where a team just wants a downhill physical runner. He's not going to dazzle you with footwork and stuff like that, but he's just a good, tough runner who I think will be good at part of a committee. He's going to get a backup role in the NFL, like most of the players that we're talking about in round five here are. But Jarquez Hunter going to Cincinnati Bengals, he might find an opportunity if there's some injuries in that backfield.
Yeah, you know what? He could definitely be underrated because now that you say that, I remember, no matter who he was playing along with, he was always popping off and, making himself known. So that
Mhm.
would be really interesting to see how he does in an offensive scheme like this. I'm looking at the Buffalo Bills, and I know James Cook doesn't. Oh, sorry. No, I think. I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans. I'm
Yep.
gonna go with the Tennessee Titans here. I'm gonna go pick 167, and I know they have Tony Pollard, and I know Tajay Spears is there, and I really like Tajay Spears a lot. I hope that he can actually amount to something, but they're gonna need someone with that power back type of physicality and someone who has, good vision, good pass catching ability, and has known to take on a workload. And I think that's Taj Brooks. Taj Brooks could fill really nicely. Tajay Spears is that big time agility, elite type of player with just his movement mechanics. And, the defense have got to figure out a way to cover him. You pop in Tajay Brooks, and it could really be a mismatch. So Tajay Brooks to the Tennessee Titans at pick 167.
I like it. All right, with the 170 pick, I'm going Buffalo Bills. Do they sign James Cook to a big deal? He wants big time money after the Saquon Barkley deal. Or are they going to let him walk and be left with Ray Davis in the backfield? So I'm going to take, there's a name out there that I'm sure a lot of people watching this video, listening to this podcast, have yet to hear Ollie Gordon's name, but I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills, taking Ollie Gordon here to be that power, just downhill physical runner up there in the cold in Buffalo in the winter. So, and then you kind of let, Ray Davis, he's kind of got that smaller profile. He's can bang too, but, he's going to be a backup up there. I think a lot of people think Ollie Gordon could potentially start in the NFL. I'm unfortunately not one of those people. I think he's going to be a committee back like a Roshan Johnson who kind of flashes and maybe just kind of falls into a committee and disappears over time. But I'm going to go with Buffalo here with 170, especially, with the 170th pick, especially with James Cook and the unknown right now.
Yeah, that was kinda I was thinking, that power type back in a Buffalo system, that I think Ollie Gordon is it would be a good fit there as well.
All right, round us out,
So
buddy. Round us out.
yeah, we're going to the 6th round, and right now I'm looking at the Green Bay Packers, and, they probably want to find another running back to challenge, Josh Jacobs and maybe, be that guy in the future or however they wanna deploy a running back because they do find the running back to be a big part of their system, and I think Kyle Monengai might be a good fit. He's an underrated pass protector. He's got he's got good footwork when it comes to how he navigates in the trenches, and he runs with decent power. There's some elements to his game that he just needs to work on, but he's obviously not going to have to start. And I think that's actually going to help him if they were going to develop him into a role type player. So Green Bay Packers at pick 198 select Kyle Monengai.
All right, well, there you guys got it. There are top 20 running backs, our favorites, and good landing spots. We can only pray that we get our favorite fantasy rookies to
Yeah.
get the landing spots that we want. So I'm going to rattle off the teams real quick. I got Genty, Henderson, Martinez, Sampson, ETN, James, Blue, Tootin, Hunter, and Gordon. Jason has Hampton, Judkins, Johnson, Scadaboo, Neal, Giddens, Harvey, Smith, Brooks, and Monengai. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, let us know whose team do you like better. You can see the teams on the screen. Go check it out. Give us your comments. Who drafted the better team? What landing spot do you like? Which ones do you think is a good fit? Which ones don't you like? Give us your comments and thoughts. And if you're listening on the podcast, well, I guess you'll have to be getting on the Slack chat to give us your feedback. So good exercise. We're going to do this for the wide receivers next week and the tight ends as well. Like we said, Jason, we got 2 weeks to the NFL draft. I can't
Crazy.
wait. Can't wait.